Among the countless disturbing crimes documented around the world, one case is repeatedly described as the most. There are many disturbing true crime cases in the world, cases that shock us, haunt us, and stay with us long after we hear them. But there is one case, one story, that stands above them all. A case so brutal, so horrifying, and so unbelievable that it's often described as the worst crime committed by juveniles in human history. This is the story of Junko Furuta, a 17-year-old girl whose 44 days of unimaginable suffering changed Japan forever. Before we begin, please remember, this video contains descriptions of extreme violence and cruelty. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Junko Furuta was born in Misato, Saitama Prefecture. She came from a supportive, hardworking family, her parents, an older brother, and a younger brother. Junko was the kind of girl every parent would be proud of. She was responsible, polite, and academically strong. She worked a part-time job at a plastic molding factory after school, saving up for a graduation trip she had been planning for months. Friends described her as cheerful, ambitious, and mature for her age. She didn't drink, didn't smoke, and stayed away from bad crowds, something that ironically made certain people resent her. Among those people, was a local delinquent named Hiroshi Miyano. Miyano was known as a bully. He had connections to the Yakuza, or at least pretended to. Most students feared him. When Miyano developed a crush on Junko, he approached her with the intention of starting a relationship. Junko declined, politely but firmly. But to Miyano, this wasn't just rejection, it was humiliation. Anger turned into obsession. Humiliation turned into revenge. He gathered his three closest friends Joe Ogura, Nobuharu Minato, and Yasushi Watanabe, and created a plan that would lead to one of the darkest crimes Japan has ever seen. On November 25, 1988, Junko was riding her bike home from work when a boy from Miyano's group suddenly attacked her, knocking her off her bike. As planned, Miyano appeared and rescued her, scaring the attacker away. Suspicious? Yes, but to Junko, Miyano seemed like the safer option compared to walking home alone at night. She had no idea he was the mastermind behind the attack. Instead of escorting her home, Miyano led her to an abandoned warehouse. That's where he revealed his true intentions and assaulted her. Afterward, he took her to a hotel and called his friends. They continued the assault throughout the night. This was only the beginning. The next morning, Miyano forced Junko to tell him her home address and threatened to kill her family if she tried to escape. He then took her to Minato's house, where Minato lived with his parents and younger brother. This house, a normal suburban home, would become Junko's prison for the next 44 days. On the third day, her parents reported her missing. Knowing this would happen, the boys forced Junko to call home and pretend she had run away. She assured her mother she was safe, even though she wasn't. Minato's parents clearly noticed something was wrong. They knew a girl was being held in their home. They knew she was being beaten. But they did nothing. Their excuse? Fear of their son. Fear of the Yakuza. Fear of losing their reputation. Their silence condemned Junko to her fate. For the next several weeks, Junko endured continuous violence, humiliation, and physical torture. The boys saw her as nothing more than an object, a possession. They beat her daily. They starved her. They invited dozens of people to participate in the assaults. At least 30 people directly harmed her. Over 100 knew she was being held captive, and said nothing. Her condition deteriorated rapidly. By the second week, she could barely walk. Her body was covered in burns, cuts, and bruises. Her hands were so damaged she could no longer hold anything. As temperatures dropped, she was forced to sleep on the cold balcony. Days later, she was shoved into a freezer because the boys got bored. Junko's body was failing, but her will to survive was still strong. One night, the boys drank too much. Junko, using every ounce of strength she had left, crawled out of the room, down the stairs, and reached a telephone. She managed to dial the police. An officer picked up. But before she could speak, Mayano appeared behind her and ripped the phone from her hands. He casually said, "Sorry, wrong number," and hung up. What followed was unimaginable. The boys punished her severely, and set her on fire again. This was the moment Junko understood she might never leave alive. By January 1989, Junko's body was nearly destroyed. She could no longer move. She begged them to end her suffering, something they refused to do. On January 4th, they forced her to play a game of mahjong solitaire. Shockingly, she won. Humiliated that someone they considered broken still beat them, they became enraged. They beat her with an iron barbell, poured lighter fluid over her, and set her on fire one last time. This torture lasted almost 2 hours. Junko survived the night, but her body couldn't endure the trauma any longer. She died shortly after, alone, in agony, and far too young. She was just 17. Panicked, the boys placed her body in a 55-gallon oil drum and filled it with concrete. They took it to a construction site and dumped it like garbage. They thought they had gotten away with everything. And for a moment, they did. 2 weeks later, police questioned Mayano about a different sexual assault involving another woman. Thinking they were referring to Junko, and assuming another boy already confessed, he slipped up and revealed details about the murder. By the time he realized the mistake, it was too late. Police found the drum, cracked open the concrete, and uncovered Junko's body. Her mother collapsed and had to be hospitalized long-term after hearing what had been done to her daughter. The 4 boys were arrested and tried. Shockingly, despite the brutality, they were not charged with murder. They were instead charged with causing bodily injury resulting in death. Their sentences caused national outrage. Hiroshi Mayano, 18, 20 years. Yasushi Watanabe, 17, 9 years. Joe Ogura, 18, 8 years. Nobuharu Minato, 16, 5 to 7 years. All of them were released early. Most of them committed crimes again after being freed. For many, this remains one of the greatest failures of the Japanese justice system. Junko's story is not just a crime story, it is a reminder of how evil can grow when bystanders stay silent. Parents looked away. Friends stayed quiet. Police didn't investigate properly. Society failed her. Yet today, Junko is remembered as a symbol of innocence, a girl who deserved a future, a family, a life. Her story continues to be told so that her suffering is never forgotten, and never repeated. If you found this video informative, consider subscribing for more true crime documentaries. Thank you for watching, and may Junko Furuta's memory live on.